Welcome to the daily current affairs of CivicCentre IAS, where we try to discuss the important articles from the Hindu, the Indian Express, and the PIB from the UPSC CSC prelims perspective. Displayed are the list of topics which we are going to discuss in today's video. The first article says that doubling insurance cover under the Ayushmaan Bharat to rupees 10 lakhs and up to rupees 15 lakh for women, adding another 4 lakh private hospital beds, another scheme, and increasing the number of beneficiaries from 55 crore to 100 crore. These have been pitched as the Union Health Ministry's key priorities under the NDA's third term. In this context, let us talk about various aspects related to Ayushman Bharat scheme. See, Ayushman Bharat, which was funded as per the National Health Policy of 2017, aims to achieve universal health coverage and aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals. Significantly, this initiative has been designed to meet the Sustainable Development Goals and its underlining commitment, which is leave no one behind. Further, the scheme shifts from a segmented to a comprehensive healthcare approach addressing prevention, promotion, and care at primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Notably, Ayushman Bharat adopts a continuum of care approach comprising of two interrelated components, which are health and wellness centers and Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Firstly, talking about the health and wellness centers, see, they were announced in February 2018. So, the plan involves creating 150,000 health and wellness centers by upgrading existing health facilities. Know that these centers provide comprehensive primary health care, including maternal and child health services, non-communicable disease care, free essential drugs, and diagnostic services. Interestingly, the focus is on promoting health and preventing diseases by engaging communities in healthy behaviors. Then, moving on to talk about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, in short called the PMJAY. See, it was launched in September 2018. So, the PMJAY is the world's largest health assurance scheme, offering health coverage of 5 lakh rupees per family annually for secondary and tertiary hospitalization to over 12 crore families. Know that it targets the bottom 40% of the population based on the socio-economic caste census of 2011. Further, the scheme, which is previously known as the National Health Protection Scheme, also includes the families covered under the earlier Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. Significantly, the PMJAY covers a wide range of medical services that is cashless, and it aims to prevent catastrophic health expenditures that lead many Indians into poverty each year. Notably, there is no restriction on the family size, age, or gender. But remember that the benefits of the scheme are portable across the country, which means the beneficiary can visit any empaneled public or private hospital in India to avail cashless treatment. The next article says that the Alpha X-ray spectrometer, which is one of the two instruments on the rover of Chandrayaan 3, has provided the first information of the top soil composition in the southern latitudes of the moon. Now, if I have to talk about the findings, the analysis of the data collected by the APXs has shown that the soil in this never before explored region of the moon was a mixture of mainly two types of rocks. One was from the magma, which was expected, and the other is likely from the deeper layers of the lunar surface, which could provide new insights into its evolution as per the study published in the Nature journal. Interestingly, the formation of the moon is believed to be a result of a collision of a large asteroid with Earth about 4.2 to 4.3 billion years ago. So, in its early life, moon is supposed to have been entirely on the ocean of magma. Then, it is cooled down over the millions of years. Heavier silicon and the magnesium-rich minerals like the olivine and pyroxene sank and formed the inner layers of the moon. Hence, the lighter minerals like the calcium and the sodium-based compounds form the outer layer. Now, let us talk about the Chandrayaan 3 mission also. See, the Chandrayaan 3 mission is a follow-on mission to Chandrayaan 2 to demonstrate the end-to-end capability in safe landing and roving on the lunar surface. Now, if you have to talk about the mission objectives of Chandrayaan 3, they are firstly to demonstrate safe and soft landing on lunar surface. Then, to demonstrate rover roving on the moon. And lastly, to conduct in-situ scientific experiments. Know that it consists of lander and rover configuration. Notably, it was launched by LVM-3 launch vehicle from SDSC SHAR Sriharikota. Further, the propulsion module will carry the lander and rover configuration till 100 km lunar orbit. Further, you have to know that the propulsion module has something called as the spectropolarimetry of habitable planet Earth, in short called the SHAPE payload, to study the spectral and polymetric measurements of the Earth from the lunar orbit. Now, if you have to talk about the payloads, first let us look at the lander payloads. Firstly, the Chandra surface thermophysical experiment to measure the thermoconductivity and temperature. Secondly, the instrument for lunar seismic activity, in short called the ILSA, for measuring the seismicity around the landing site. Thirdly, Langmuir probe to estimate the plasma density and its variations. And lastly, a passive laser retroreflector array from NASA, which is accommodated for the lunar laser ranging studies. Now, looking at the rover payloads, it has alpha particle X-ray spectrometer and then laser-induced breakdown spectroscope for deriving elemental composition in the vicinity of the landing site. Now, if we compare this with the Luna 25 mission of Russia, see, it was Russia's first lunar mission since the year 1976, but it has recently crashed to get into the landing orbit. Notably, it was also targeted to land at the south pole of the moon, of particular interest to researchers believing that the polar craters might contain frozen water in their rocks. Now, moving on to the next article, it says that taking aim at the world's biggest e-tailer, Amazon, Union Commerce and Industry Minister expressed concern over the surge in the growth of e-commerce business and said that it would result in predatory pricing and also may lead to social disruption, since it would adversely impact an estimated 100 million small retailers across the country. In this context, let us talk about the various aspects related to it. Firstly, talking about e-commerce. See, e-commerce, which is the short form for electronic commerce, means buying and selling of goods and services, including the digital products over the digital and electronic network. Notably, it eliminates the geographical barriers, allowing transactions to occur seamlessly across the borders. Further, it includes a wide range of activities from online retailing to digital payments and continues to evolve with advancements in technology and changes in the consumer behavior. Know that the FDI policy in India classifies this e-commerce sector into two groups. The first one is the marketplace model. See, in this model, an e-commerce entity provides an information technology platform on a digital and electronic network to act as a facilitator between the buyer and the seller. Also, it allows the multiple sellers to interact with buyers and sell their goods. Further, the marketplace model charges a commission from the sellers for the service it provides. Know that the FDI under the marketplace model of e-commerce is permitted up to 100% via the automatic route. Some of the examples of this model include Naptol, ShopClues, etc. Then the second one is what we call the inventory model. See, it is an e-commerce activity where an inventory of goods and services is owned by an e-commerce entity and is sold to the consumers directly. Further, the seller is an e-commerce company that sources directly from the brands and sellers and stocks them. One such example is Myntra. Know that FDI is not permitted for the inventory-based model of e-commerce. Now, if we have to talk about the predatory pricing, see, it is the illegal act of setting prices low to attempt to eliminate the competition. Further, predatory pricing violates the antitrust laws as it makes markets more vulnerable to a monopoly. Know that the consumers may benefit from lower prices in short term, but they suffer if the scheme succeeds in the eliminating competition, as this would trigger a rise in the prices and a decline in the choice. The next article says that the Union Public Service Commission has opposed anticipatory bail plea of the former IAS trainee officer Pooja Ketkar in the Delhi High Court, stating that granting her the relief would not only impede the investigation process, but also embolden the individuals with the criminal intent to exploit and abuse the law. In this context, let us talk about anticipatory bail or the pre-arrest bail. See, it is a legal provision that allows an accused person to apply for bail before being arrested. Know that in India, pre-arrest bail is granted under Section 438 of the Code of Criminal Procedure of 1973. Further, it is issued only by the Sessions Court and High Court. Significantly, it is meant to safeguard a person who has false accusation or charges made against him or her, most commonly due to professional or personal enmity, as it ensures the release of falsely accused person even before he or she is arrested. Now, if we look at some of the conditions for it, firstly, the individual seeking anticipatory bail must be betting arrested for a non-bailable offence. Next, the anticipatory bail is typically sought by those who feel falsely implicated or threatened with unjust charges that could lead to arrest. Lastly, know that granting anticipatory bail is at court's discretion and is not an absolute right of the individual. The next article says that the NBFC's growth had been softened to 13 to 15% in the financial year 25 from 18% according to ICRA. In this context, let us talk about various aspects related to non-banking finance companies. See, a non-banking finance company is a company registered under the Companies Act of 1956, engaged in business of loans and advances, the acquisition of shares, stocks, bonds, debentures, securities, which are issued by the government or local authority or other marketable securities of like nature, leasing, hire purchase, insurance business or chit business. Further, it does not include any institution whose principal businesses is that of agricultural activity, industrial activity, the purchase or sale of any goods other than securities, or providing any services and sale, purchase, construction of immobile property. See, generally these institutions are not allowed to take traditional demand deposits from the public. Know that they can only accept time deposits and they do not provide savings or current account facilities. Further, they cannot accept deposits for a period less than 12 months and more than 60 months. Also, NBFCs cannot offer interest rates higher than the ceiling rate, which is prescribed by RBI from time to time. But significantly, NBFCs also provide a wide range of monetary advice like chit reserves and advances. Now, if we have to talk about its regulation, see, the functions of NBFCs are managed by both the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the RBI. Further, the RBI has the authority to issue licenses to NBFCs, regulate their operations, and ensure that they adhere to the established norms and regulations. Now, what are the differences between the NBFCs and normal banks? Firstly, NBFCs do not have a banking license. Secondly, they cannot accept demand deposits. Thirdly, NBFCs do not form part of the payment and settlement system and cannot issue checks drawn on itself. Next, the deposit insurance facility of the Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation is not available to the depositors of NBFCs, unlike the case of banks. Lastly, unlike the banks, NBFCs are not subjected to stringent and substantial regulations. The next article says that the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Wednesday told income tax officials that enforcement measures should be a last resort and there should not be any action against the taxpayers that is disproportionate to the issue concerned. Speaking at an event to mark the 165th Income Tax Day. Further, she also asked the IT officials to keep the language of IT notices simple and easy to understand so that the taxpayers have the clarity on the matters raised. In this context, let us talk about the Central Board of Direct Taxes and later about the concept of tax buoyancy. See, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, in short called the CBDT, is a statutory authority functioning under the Central Board Revenue Act of 1963. Know that it is part of the Department of Revenue in the Ministry of Finance. Further, it is India's official financial action task force unit. Now, if we have to talk about its functions, see, its functions include a formulation of policies, dealing with the matters relating to the levy and collection of direct taxes, and supervision of the functioning of the entire income tax department. Also, CBDT proposes legislative changes in direct tax enactments and changes in the rates and structure of taxation in tune with the policies of the government. Now, moving on to talk about the concept of tax buoyancy, it explains the relationship between the changes in the government's tax revenue growth and the changes in the gross domestic product. So, the formula for calculating the tax buoyancy is nothing but percentage change in the tax collection divided by the percentage change in the economy's GDP. See, as the economy achieves a faster growth, the tax revenue of the government also goes up. Significantly, the tax buoyancy explains this relationship. Further, it refers to the responsiveness of tax revenue growth to the changes in the GDP. So we can say that when a tax is buoyant, its revenue increases without increasing the tax rate. Hence, it depends upon the size of the tax base, the friendliness of the tax administration, And lastly, the rationality and the simplicity of the tax rates. Lastly, remember that the tax buoyancy will be the highest for the direct taxes. The next article says that the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal, said that Africa can complement India's need for critical minerals needed to some sectors like the electric vehicles. In this context, let us talk about critical minerals. See, critical minerals are those minerals which are essential for the economic development and national security of the country. So, a mineral is labeled as critical when the risk of supply shortage and associated impact on the economy is higher than the other raw materials. Further, the lack of availability of these minerals or even concentration of existence, extraction, or processing of these minerals in few geographical locations may lead to supply chain vulnerability and disruption. Further, critical minerals are the foundation on which the modern technology is built. From solar panels to semiconductors, wind turbines to advanced batteries for storage and transportation, the world needs critical minerals to build these products. Significantly, there is no energy transition without critical minerals, which is why their supply chain resilience has become an increasing priority for major economies. Further, India's future economic prosperity will depend on how we can use our vast energy and mineral resources to play to our strengths and how well we can adapt to follow the global market shift towards zero emissions. Notably, India has become the newest partner in the coveted Mineral Security Partnership, which is an USA initiative to bolster critical mineral supply chains. Also, the government has released a list of 30 critical minerals for India. These minerals are antimony, beryllium, bismuth, cobalt, copper, gallium, germanium, graphite, hafnium, indium, lithium, molybdenum, niobium, nickel, platinum group elements, phosphorus, potash, rare earth elements, rhenium, silicon, strontium, tantalum, tellurium, tin, titanium, tungsten, vanadium, zirconium, selenium, and cadmium. According to the last article of the day, the World Health Organization was conducting a thorough investigation to determine if a new strain of polio has infected a 2-year-old child at Tikrigilla in West Garo Hills district of the state. In this context, let us talk about polio. See, poliomyelitis or polio is a highly infectious viral disease that largely affects the children under 5 years of age. Know that the virus is transmitted by person to person, spread mainly through the fecal oral route or less frequently by a common vehicle like the contaminated water or food, and multiplies in the intestine from where it can invade the nervous system and cause paralysis. Further, polio typically affects the children aged 5 years or younger. Notably, it can result in muscle weakness, permanent disability, and even death. Also, know that there is no cure for polio, but there are safe, effective vaccines that given multiple times can protect a child for life. Now, if we have to talk about the symptoms, see, most people with polio do not feel sick, but some people have only minor symptoms such as fever, tiredness, nausea, headache, pain in the arms and legs, etc. Further, in rare cases, polio infection causes permanent loss of muscle function, which is paralysis. Notably, polio can be fatal if the muscles used for breathing are paralyzed or if there is an infection of the brain. Now, there are 2 vaccines available for polio. First one is the oral polio vaccine, which is given orally as a birth dose for institutional deliveries. Then, primary 3 doses at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, and 1 booster dose at 16 to 24 months of age. Then the second one is injectable polio vaccine, which is introduced as an additional dose along with the 3rd dose of DPT under the Universal Immunization Program. Now, if we have to talk about the polio in the Indian context, see, India received a polio-free certification by the World Health Organization in the year 2014, which is after 3 years of 0 cases. Significantly, this achievement has been spurred by successful Pulse Polio campaign in which all children were administered polio drops. Notably, the last case due to wild polio virus in the country was detected on 13 January 2011. So, in today's video, we have discussed 8 articles in total from the Hindu, the Indian Express and the PIB from the UPSC CSE prelims perspective, We'll be back again with another video tomorrow. Thank you.